Hello. Today we're going to be learning how to make 3D flowers using the Cricut. Ultimately, these 3D flowers kind of look like a rose. There's also a spiky design. I'm not 100% sure what flower that looks like, but I really like it. So I'm going to show you how to make both types of flowers today, what I'm calling a rose and a spiky flower, I guess. The cartridge that we used for the Cricut machine was Walk in My Garden. It's an older cartridge. It's been out for a couple of years. The good news is the size that these wind up being cut in, you can use an original Cricut machine, the baby bug. So, you know, old machine, old cartridge, new look. So we have our Walk in the Garden cartridge. The other things that we're going to need is we're going to need a bowl of warm tap water, just kitchen water. I prefer using warm because I find it works better to break down the fiber in the paper, and also my hands don't get cold while I'm crafting. We're also going to need pipe cleaners. I got the economy bag, just Chenille pipe cleaners, regular kids section at the craft store. We're going to need our cutout flowers from a child here, craft foam. This craft foam, you buy big packs of sheets of it. Again, in the kids section at the craft store, very cheap, great for 100 uses. We're also going to need a pair of scissors. They don't have to be great scissors, they just have to have a decent point to them. And Elmer's school glue. If you can't find the school glue, the regular Elmer's white is fine. I like Elmer's, it's cheap, it's easy to find, and for what we're using, it's absolutely perfect. Here you see a little more finished result. This is just a vase of some half-finished flowers. Basically, when we're done with today's tutorial, if you want to call it that, web tutorial, we'll learn how to have made both types of these flowers up to this point. And no, we won't be making the vase. We don't do glass blowing. So, first step, find your Cricut cartridge handbook. Find a flower design you like. For the roses, I went with what they call Blossom, page 87. It's basically that shape. And for the sort of spiky flower, I went with what they're calling a star flower. That's on page 90. As you can see, it's sort of a star flower shape, I guess. For making flowers like this, you absolutely want to use the blackout function. Cricuts come with a bunch of different features. In each different cartridge has different features for the Cricut. The feature that you want to use is blackout. Reason being, it doesn't cut the hole in the middle. The hole it's going to cut in the middle is going to be too big, so you want to poke your own hole later. Same thing with the star flower. Might be a little difficult to see. I'll show you a better close-up, but the blackout is the only one that doesn't have a giant gaping star cut out of the middle of it. So it's, you know, what we're going to work with. So when cutting these, you want to go by half-inch intervals. So with this one, I started with inch, inch and a half, 2 inch, 2.5 inch, 3 inch. For the star flowers, the largest one I went was actually 3.5 inch. I wanted to go just a little bit bigger, but if you look, the way the Cricut has done it, this one's at 3 inches, this one's at 3.5 inches. There's not a whole lot of size difference. I don't know if you can make that out. So just keep that in mind when making things on the Cricut. Sometimes it sizes itself a little bit differently than we would size it. Alright, you're going to put these on your craft foam. Saves your table. Cheap, easy, cheaper than a new table. Take just the very point of your scissor, to the edge. Poke a little hole right in the middle of the flower. It might be hard to see. I'm just going to show you kind of with the point of the scissor what I'm talking about. You're going to do that through each size. Okay, so poke, 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 poke. There. You're going to do the same thing with your star flower. Take it over the craft foam, little hole right in the middle. If it's not perfectly in the middle, that's fine. Once you have all your little holes cut in the middle, you're going to take your flowers. I start with the biggest one, and just dip it in your warm water. Lay it right back down to dry out a little bit. This pattern paper that I'm using is a little bit thinner than I usually use for these flowers. Usually I use a cardstock or like more of an oak tag. So I'm giving these an extra couple of minutes to just sort of dry a little bit, only because it's a more delicate paper and I don't want to risk ripping it. Paper is a lot stronger than you'd think though. It can kind of take a little abuse. So while that sits and dries for a minute, I'm going to come back in. I'm going to get my roses. These are cardstock. Not a super thick cardstock, but thick enough that it gives me a little something to work with. Take your scissor. Again, handy little scissor. Take one end of your pipe cleaner and just, maybe tough to see, but you're just going to kind of curl it right over the end. Okay, and then just pinch it down. This is going to be what helps to hold your petals on. Okay, so we're going to start with our cardstock, just because it's right in front of me, why not? A little wire inside the pipe cleaner makes it really easy to thread the flowers on. So you just slide them down to the bottom. Okay, you go through all your layers. You get your second. The great thing about these is that they don't look like much when they start out, but they really come out cute at the end. It's sort of a nice surprise. You're going to pinch your petals down over your little pipe cleaner bump. Okay, that's one layer. Next one up, pinch. You want to kind of, it's tough to maybe explain, but pinch and roll a little with your fingers. This helps to get a little more dimension to the petals. It helps to kind of scrunch them up a little bit more. Now, we got all our petals pinched in together, all the way out to the outside. Now, I don't have a particular name for this, I guess. I call it blooming, because it's almost like watching a flower bloom from nothing. You're going to take your thumbs, hold the flower in between the first two fingers of both of your hands, so you have both your thumbs to work with. It's always good to get all your thumbs free for a project. And then just kind of pull out from the middle. Okay, starting with the outside rose petals, going to the next level. And again, papers, you know, you got a little wiggle room. If it's not coming out right away, you can kind of tug a little, pull a little. You don't want to rip it, but you know, you may have to give it a little gentle nudge to get it to do what you want it to do. Okay, we got 2 layers out, 3. And you'll see already it's starting to look more and more like a flower. And it's not even done yet. So, you know, bit by bit it starts to really become kind of a fun project. Okay, now we've bloomed the rose. In the very center, you'll see the tiniest little green of the pipe cleaner. That's fine. Once it's dry, we're going to put a little drop of Elmer's glue on that, and that'll help hold the flower petals on. If you don't see any green in the middle, you may have just happened to pinch your flower bud particularly tight. That may hold, so you may not have to worry about the Elmer's glue. I always like a backup, just in case. Okay, so we got our rose done. We're going to set that aside to dry. Going to get back to our little star flower. Okay, take a pipe cleaner. Bend the end. Okay. Alright, now with these star flowers, I went with a pattern that was only patterned on one side. They do make double-sided paper where it would have a coordinating paper on the back. I kind of like that this didn't. It was a very soft pink on pink. I like that the back would just sort of be a white, nothing that would compete with it. If I was doing, I don't know, very bright circus colors, I probably would want something on the back, because the white might be a little stark for that. The pink one, I went with a couple of extra layers. I went 6 instead of 5. Usually I do odd numbers, 5, 7, 9. With this, I only had 1 sheet of paper, so I was willing to try, you know, we'll try a 6-layer flower. It's a little bit bigger than the rose, so I wanted the extra one, at least 1 extra layer, sort of fill it out better. And, you know, had I had endless paper, who knows, this thing could have been the size of my head, which would have been a bit intimidating, but, you know, go. We're getting our last one on. Scrunch that up. There's no like wrong way to scrunch. Pretty much you want to get, you know, more wrinkles. I find I like the look of more than less crinkle to the petal, but it's up to you. I mean, you know, whatever you wind up liking the look of, try it, have fun with it. That's sort of my ongoing motto of crafting. Oh, and if you didn't get messy, you probably didn't have fun. So at some point I'll probably spill something on myself. Do not worry about that. Alright, now I'm just going to bloom this a little. Starting right at the edge of the petals. Kind of working those thumbs. Now with this spiky one, I could see going a couple of different ways with this actually. It kind of has a tropical feel to me. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I never really lived in the tropics, so I guess if it doesn't grow in Brooklyn, it might just have a tropical feel. You can do, like here I'm doing, you know, baby pink, very soft, kind of very soft, I'm sorry, not soft. You can do different colors, you can do different patterns, you can do different textures of paper. And here we go. Now with this one, I'm leaving a little bud toward the middle, only because it's a little more delicate of a flower, and this one, gently set down to dry. You can, if you want, actually dry them in like an empty vase or like a big Slurpee cup or something like that. Okay, so this is not perfectly dry. Normally I you know, let them dry all the way. Luckily, through the magic of television, I have a spare right here. So, just going to show you how to put the little drop of Elmer's glue, and that's going to be pretty much the last step of this tutorial. It's Elmer's, it's glue, it's got the little tip. Look for the little green piece in the middle and just give it a drop. That's all. I mean, it's white, it dries clear. If you wanted to add a little, I don't know, a little more bling, a little more pizzazz, while it's still wet, while the Elmer's glue is still wet, you could throw a little glitter, little sparkles. You could come back in after the Elmer's glue dried and affix a rhinestone. You know, I mean, the possibilities are kind of endless. So, basically, I hope you had fun today. That's the end of class. Again, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Be sure to tune in and catch part 2, because otherwise you only have half-finished flowers. See, that's how I entice you to come back. Trickery. And, you know, if you have any comments, you know, they're welcome. Obviously, I prefer the nice comments, but I'll take what I get right now. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can. If you have a technology question, it might take me a little while to get back to you on that. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in.
She's crafty, she's got a great, she's crafty, and she's just my type.